Hello, Chris. Are you already fully set up with sound? Thank you.
Oh no, I've got it. I just oh yeah. I can do that for me. Yeah.
Hey, everybody, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Chris.
There we go. Yeah, I had to dial. Oops. Let's fix this up. I've dialed in on my phone for audio. Let's.
Right. Yeah, you are there twice.
Yeah. Let's see if I can put that on mute.
System is set up at all, so it's good.
Yeah.
Where's that coming from? As the voice.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Uli. Okay,
Yes.
good. Okay, so I think we've got you adequately on board here. Just let me get sorted for a second.
There's going across the field to make sure picture. He was the one that was in the Nelson picture. Yeah. Very good.
Largely responsible for the maintenance side of our fire department. Yeah, incredible. Very lucky.
Okay.
Chris, are you going to run the proceedings from there?
I am. I'm just setting up some things here. Yeah, just give me one moment here.
Yep. No, I just wondered if you wanted me to or if you will.
Good. Oh, is Uli, is Emma there?
Yes.
Director Cunningham was asking for Sophia's phone number.
Sophia's here with us.
Oh, she's there.
Oh, are you there?
Hi.
Good, wonderful. Good stuff.
Can you confirm Can you confirm who's with you, Chris, just for the minutes? Which members are with
We've
you?
got Jay, Jason, Tom, and Director Cunningham, myself.
Okay, thank you.
So we got quorum.
Yeah, we got quorum.
Last time we had trouble getting quorum.
Third record. Sure, but I'll have to start playing third at night.
Okay, thank you everybody for joining us. I know we haven't had a meeting in a while. It's good to meet everybody. I know you haven't met me before, but yeah.
Don't meet often enough.
No, we don't meet often enough. I'm Chris Gainham. I'm the manager of utility services. Took over from Jason Retirement. Certainly have lots of experience in water. I've had about 21 years experience running water systems of various sizes. So yeah, it's really good to be on board, and it's nice to meet all of you today. Let's maybe jump into the agenda and call the meeting to order formally. So, Emma, have you done a head count?
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. The first order of business then is the election of the chair. So yeah, at the first meeting of the year, we elect the chair of this commission.
Stop everybody.
And now is of course the time to nominate somebody or express your interest in being the chair.
I nominate Hans. You've been the chair
That
for
was
this
organization for a really long time. I will, if nobody else wants to be chair or has the slightest desire to be chair, after all, it's not like we have huge meetings, and when we do, we have staff here to guide us through it. So I can be but I don't need to be specifically talented to be able to run the chair. And neither does anybody else around here, because you're all very talented people anyway. So if anybody of you would like,
That's enough.
I am. You in the chair?
No.
Okay, no. And you've got a load of them.
Yeah, I have a whole plate, so I can't.
And same with Sophie and Theron is out there baking bread. So he's going on.
Okay, so sorry, we gotta be a bit more formal, so it's nomination process. If we have a nomination, and is it accepted?
We've got one nomination so far. We've got two.
No, second.
Oh, second.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. No. We got two. Yeah. Yes, we've got a nomination for our Director Cunningham to be the chair for this next year of the Ymir Commission of Management. Director Cunningham, do you have anything to say? You're welcome.
Thank you. Go ahead. Running for election, yes. Well, it's I've been on the district about 37, going on 38 years, or the 38 going on 39. Doesn't really matter. I lost count, but I can't tell you how many of these, but I've been to at least 39 meetings of this water commission. And as you know, we're the one commission. We're a commission, not a committee. So in fact, we do have the power to do that, as long as the board approves. And however, a lot of the water systems in the region we are doing very, very well from the point of view of we have up-to-date equipment, we have money, we got money in the bank, so to speak, and I'm pleased to see that. The idea is to continue the trend, not to go in the hole like some other day and then need something and spend really in the hole and paying back thousands of dollars that a small community really can't. So that's my position, and you all know it anyway.
Thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
So yeah, that is item 3 on the agenda, the chair's address. And now at this point we can enter the regular meeting. We'll do a traditional lands acknowledgement. We acknowledge and respect the Indigenous peoples within whose traditional lands we are meeting.
Sorry, Chris.
Yes.
Sorry if I have to interrupt you. This is a commission, not an advisory committee, so you have a formal chair. Chair takes now the meeting over.
I can do that.
Or
I can let you do it. Okay. Yeah, and thank you. All right. Okay.
We're on the next page on.
I know we're on page. after I called, the meeting has been called to order already, and we have elected the chair, and the chair has made an address, and we're gonna now commence the regular meeting. And we acknowledge and respect the indigenous people within the traditional lands who are meeting today. And you have the agenda in front of you. I'd like to take a motion for adoption.
Yeah.
Okay, moved by
good to me.
Jay. Anybody else like second the motion to adopt?
Sure, me.
Seconded by Tom. Discussion, all in favor? Carried. And we have received the minutes from the last meeting, which are attached. And now we'll move straight into staff report. And we have a staff presentation on capital works, operations and maintenance update, and the infrastructure asset management plan. Asset management plans, by the way, are ways to make sure that in 100 years, when the system is replacing, we'll have to replace it. It's a continuous ongoing program. It seems like it costs us a huge bundle of money, but in the end, you're not eligible for grants from the other areas of government unless you have a working asset management plan. So we always want to make sure we keep that door open.
Mm-hmm. This is for the current infrastructure assets,
Yes.
meaning all the distribution systems, the treatment plant, the holding tank, etc. Including the hydrants.
Yeah, I can, so I put together a presentation. I know you reached out to me, Jason reached out to me last week. And as a member of the commission, requested some information on the infrastructure asset management plan for Ymir. I've drafted a short presentation just to review what we've got. I think the commission members also understand and know about the natural asset management plan that is underway for the Ymir watershed as well. The two go hand in hand, and I'll allude to how those two connect a little bit. But I will run down kind of everything that the Ymir system owns in terms of both vertical assets, things like buildings, your treatment plant, hydrant, the vertical asset, and then the linear asset, the pipes in the ground, and then related appurtenances. So, with that said, I will go in here and share my presentation.
Oh, Chris,
Yes.
we can share it from here if that's easier.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, because it's all part of the agenda, so we can do it right through the agenda. Emma is in the process of setting it up.
Okay, that works. Oh, they're gonna run the presentation from here. Yeah.
Chris, you're gonna have to mute one of those two, otherwise you're gonna get feedback.
Yes, this is Director Cunningham's.
Oh, yeah. Oh, but he has the audio going.
There we go.
That's better.
One button. It's that button if you're ever looking for
Okay,
it.
that sounds better, yeah.
Okay, I think we're good.
Oh, of course, it's the one with the speaker. It says nothing is done.
We're getting a terrible echo because they're in a big room. That's what the multiple.
Oh, and yeah,
Well,
And I don't think.
no,
right here.
right here.
Yeah, I think Emma's just Uli, you were saying that Emma was going to put the presentation up from your end.
Need to pull it up because I don't have it open, so I'll just be a moment.
Yeah, we'll take a moment.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. We'll grab another beer. Yeah, we'll do that. I don't drink that. So I can say that. If I did, people think it was years.
Chris, if you have an introduction that is not specific to the slides, then you probably can start while we figure this out.
Yeah, sure. Like I said, Jason had reached out as a interested member of the commission, asking for more information on asset management. So in this presentation, I'll review the 2024 capital works that were completed. I'll give a brief verbal update of any operations and maintenance items that were of note for 2024. I will give you some insight into the infrastructure that you own as a Ymir Water system, its condition and its total value, and then how we generally plan out replacement, renewal, and financing of that infrastructure based on that asset management plan. Again, connected to the natural asset management plan that is ongoing, being led by another department at the regional district, but with lots of input and involvement from water services here as well. Opportunity, of course, throughout the presentation for any of you to stop me and ask a question, ask for a little more clarity on something. I presented a very high level assessment and the plan of the system, but certainly can delve into the details. Might not be able to give you all the information and answers that you want right now, but I can always take it back and feed that information out to you after the meeting.
This looks good.
Yeah, okay.
The tables look great, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and this is something that we do for all the water systems as well. The smallest water systems have an asset management plan, and then some of the larger ones do as well. I will say, looking at your asset management plan, the infrastructure you have in the ground, you are pretty well off. I think Director Cunningham alluded to that right off at the beginning of the meeting. So yeah, we'll lay out kind of what that looks like, where most of your money is, and just the plan for the future. And again, if you've got any questions, we can certainly delve into that. Yeah. Thanks, Emma. I see the agenda up. So I've included the meeting minutes from the last meeting. I don't know if there's a desire to go through any of that.
No,
Okay.
not for me, but I can't speak for everyone.
No, it's good for me.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Emma. You can go to the next page. Okay, like I said, a brief presentation today, just capital works and operations and maintenance update. I'll give the operations and maintenance portion of it just verbally for you. Again, that Ymir asset management plan overview, and then the kind of meat and potatoes of why we're here, the financial plan, the 5-year financial plan that we put together. Next slide, please. Thank you. So as far as capital works completed in 2024, the installation of an outflow meter from the reservoir. So it's a mag meter. The photo of it actually is attached there. Provides us better control and understanding of flows and demands in the system, better control of the system.
Is that just buried in the ground?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's a clamp on, or it's a spool piece magnetic flow meter. Typical. That's a typical installation. It's right next to the reservoir. It's a few meters away from the reservoir. On that straight run of pipe. The next significant capital project was a system control, so a supervisory control and data acquisition. That should be supervisory there. Upgrade, so the SCADA program. SCADA is the technology that water systems use to, alarm, provide remote alarming, remote control, data trending, data historian, things like that. The SCADA system in Ymir was aging and causing operational difficulties, really with management of the system. So a lot of those SCADA components were quite old, out of date. So that project sought to replace all those, bring them up to modern standards, so we had more reliability and a better understanding of what was going on in the system.
Remember talking about this last year.
Yeah. So the human machine interface is simply how an operator interacts with that. So the screens, the representation of the infrastructure that is being monitored and logged by the SCADA system. So that all goes together.
So that's up and running?
That is up and running to my knowledge.
We're artificially intelligent.
We always have been. It was just an aging, that technology you'll see in the asset management plan. We provide estimated service lives for different pieces of infrastructure. You know, a piece of plastic pipe might be 80 years is what we assume. SCADA, those control systems, those computer elements have a much shorter lifespan.
Yeah.
10 years is probably the max that you want to push things. In some cases, these are pushed, 15 years, something like that.
Mhm.
And then I just flagged a future capital project in here that you'll see
Chris,
financials.
Chris?
Yes.
Might be worthwhile under SCADA to speak a couple sentences about the security analysis that we did in regards to remote access of our SCADA systems.
Sure. One of the projects that our IT department, in concert with us, undertook is a vulnerability assessment of SCADA systems.
Mhm.
Like I said, sometimes SCADA systems are hold on for quite a while before they're replaced. That in itself can be a vulnerability. Having the more up-to-date system was flagged as a necessary item to reduce the likelihood of bad actors potentially taking control of systems like this. It seems unlikely, but these things happen.
Seems very likely.
Yes, there are cybersecurity issues. So it was essentially a cybersecurity assessment of our SCADA system, communication system on the water side, both internal vulnerabilities and external vulnerabilities. There was a laundry list of items flagged for attention, given different priorities. To my knowledge, I think we've addressed every one of them pretty much. Everything from switching out old pieces of hardware that are a vulnerability to us to password strengthening password protection protocols, things like that. Updating computers that connect with SCADA. Those computers might have been old, running on an old Windows operating system that in itself makes it vulnerable. So just kind of modernizing things and at the same time providing more protection for those systems. Because again, you never know when there's a bad actor out there looking to potentially take advantage of things.
So is it the opinion of the RDCA currently that we are protected from?
There were a number of vulnerabilities that were flagged. So like 60 or so vulnerabilities that were flagged, given various levels of priority. Last time I looked, I think we had addressed all of them.
Does that mean we're protected now?
That means that we have a level of protection that is consistent with industry standard for providing cybersecurity protection.
Nobody will guarantee.
It's risk reduction. It's not risk elimination. Nobody ever,
It's basically as good as.
It's as good as it can get. I've gone to workshops on cybersecurity and water systems before. The IT group has a really good idea of how to flag all these things, and we had an external consultant on board who tested the system. They actually acted as bad actors and went in and tried to find vulnerabilities in the system. So that is really kind of boots on the ground, so to speak, from a computer perspective of trying to test and find weaknesses in the system, and that's how they came up with their vulnerability.
Is there an ability in that system of protection to warn that there is a hacker working on it or whatever?
I believe so. And it's not all hacker based. It can be. But that's what we've done. Any of the vulnerabilities that they flagged, which is again that long list, have been addressed. A lot of them were kind of low lying fruit. Having an IP address that was easily located online. Certainly the cybersecurity threats to water systems are real and have happened. Typically, it happened in larger systems. I know of a number of systems in the States where these things happen. I think there was one system in the States where a bad actor got control of a SCADA system and then started to run the pumps to failure. right? They would overspeed the pumps or turn them on and off if they rapid succession and burn them out. At the same time, demanding money to stop that. So I think what the regional district has done here is really taken a front seat on making sure that we've got secure systems and communication.
So would it be fair to say we're as protected as we can reasonably be?
That's my understanding. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So, any other questions on that? Is that a hand up? No. Oh, that was hands. Yeah, and I flagged here too that future capital work, the UV replacement. The UV system here is aging. It is, I think, kind of sunsetting on availability of the parts. So 2026 is the year to replace this while we can get the parts for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was 2008, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is
With the original design, so it's like
Yeah.
7, 8
It
years.
seems to me, yes.
18
Way
or
back that, yeah.
Oh, really?
yeah.
This replacement for this thing, what do these systems cost?
I believe it is in the budget. It is. We put it at $70,000. So that's the in-house estimate based on best knowledge of what it will cost. And then, of course, when it goes into tender RFP, we'll get bids in.
And I saw that was gonna be a transfer from the reserve. Does that deplete the reserve or there's still money left after that?
In 2026, yeah, I mean, we pulled money out of reserve, but we've said that you will have balance.
Chris, the remaining reserve estimated end of 26 is $61,000
Yeah.
after paying $70,000 from reserve for that project.
Yeah, so at the beginning of that 2026 season, we've got 115 grand, but you've got 61,000 left because we've drawn that down. So yeah, you are paying for that UV replacement out of reserves. We're not planning to borrow the money for that. Yes.
Yeah, the reserve account.
I would caution you people
Yeah.
not to look for the cheapest.
Oh.
Let's get a quality one that, that's not.
Last another 17 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Let's not nickel and dime the damn thing. Let's get a decent one.
Yeah, no, like I said, I think we're looking for they're a compatible system. So I think we're very dialed into what we want. That leads me to believe that we'll probably, pick a certain supplier. Julie might get more than I do.
Well, to be clear, a UV unit needs to be
Sorry, Uli, go on.
a UV unit for a drinking water system is a certified unit. Otherwise, they wouldn't be approved by Interior Health, meaning it has relatively rigorous testing already. So for us, the Canadian Tire system or whatever isn't even an option. So we have very limited units on the market that fulfill these certification requirements, and that's what we are going to go with.
As long as we're not buying it off Amazon.
No. Yeah, I mean, the installation of this requires a construction permit through Interior Health and review by an engineer from Interior. Designed by an engineer on our side, reviewed by an engineer on the Interior Health side, the regulator's side. So it's all very tightly regulated from start to finish. So yeah.
Will there be an update to this group once you've got a little further in the design process?
We can certainly provide an update in timing.
Yeah, there is not a whole lot of design. A lot of it is plug and play with these systems. So we put out a list of specifications for the UV unit and see what we get back in the RFP process. Like I said, there is not a whole lot of players out there in the market. A lot of it. Sorry.
Yeah.
So we have seen a lot of consolidation, meaning one company buying out the other. So there is really only a couple big players in regards to certified and NSF certified UV units in the market.
Okay, thank you. I've got two questions. The first is, will some of this equipment be coming from the States? I only ask because of the cost is probably gonna go up.
I will say, Uli had a great point there. There has been a lot of consolidation in the industry. I remember back in the day when Xenon was a very big manufacturer. I actually lived down the road from the Xenon plant near Burlington. So it was a bit of a crown jewel. Of course, it got bought out by an American company. So yeah, there has been that consolidation, and it's typically been by the larger American companies.
Understood. It might be easier to get plate parts from Japan than from the States.
Well, we are very
I understand.
aware of.
Yeah, and I think we all are. My second question is, does the system need to be shut down to install?
My understanding is that it wouldn't. There'd be a plan in place, amenable to interior health as part of that construction permit to make sure we cannot be feeding out untreated water.
No,
the system, right?
just raise the chlorine level. That's what we do. Nobody can do it.
Or are we sure that the holding tank level is high enough to buy yourself the time to unplug and replug the new
There is typically a plan in place. There's always a plan in place, of course, when you replace mission critical systems like this to ensure security of supply and in all ways, right, volume and quality. So
They didn't put in that big tank for no reason.
did not put in the big tank for no reason. Yeah, don't. Any more questions? Questions on this? I can go to the next page.
Where are we? We have done. Oh, it's that we talked about.
Yeah. So the next page on this.
Okay.
I'll get into the asset management plan.
All right. On this one.
Yes.
Capital work.
So
Okay.
just a little bit of a introduction here. So we've got that infrastructure asset management plan. We focus on the built infrastructure that the Ymir Water System owns. All manner of things. We typically break that down into vertical and linear infrastructure. Again, that vertical infrastructure is your buildings, your hydrants, things that are you can represent with a point on a map. And then we've got linear infrastructures, typically the bigger aspect of the infrastructure that you own, the pipes and things like that. That natural asset management planning study that's ongoing looks to assess the natural function, the worth, I guess, of the natural function of the Quartz Creek watershed for the Ymir Water System. Kind of putting a dollar value on that, and also assessing if there's alternates. Right, Jason reached out to me asking if there's ever been an alternate water source identified for Ymir. I did a little bit of digging on my end and found an old well report from 2003 that.
When we did the one that I leave.
So I can certainly share that with the greater group here. But yeah, that's that Quartz Creek natural asset management study looks at things like that. The what if cases if you were to lose supply here, what are we looking at from a cost perspective to continue to provide safe drinking water for the community? And you've got existing fire FUS rating, things like that.
Yeah. And cost and sustainability.
Yes. Yeah.
And quality. And
all aspects of it. Yeah.
We can go over that report in detail. A number of things that jumped out to me.
So yeah, and I mean, I think the intention is to take that natural asset management plan and have it as something to refer to when we're moving forward with making plans for this. Right, we leverage that infrastructure asset management plan for planning out that hard infrastructure replacement, but then also informed by that natural asset management plan. Any questions there?
No, as you pointed out, of course, on the little map that's included, the last service of the south That was the one that went to Koznikov's place, and there is, a notice on title, because that's an 8-acre parcel.
Mhm.
And there's a notice on title that can only run one water service on that property for one house.
And that is from the original design, from the engineered
Yes,
boundary.
there's notice on title for that 8-acre place, because we don't want 8 acres. It's beautiful making houses, right? We can't put 8 acres of houses on that property, because on title it's just one, because we can't guarantee supply.
What is our, let's say this. How many households in that water system? What?
Okay, when the engineer did it, I was with Man Engineering in 1980, and they said, the system is designed so that, and those little water flows back at those years, right, that were done. So, okay, we said they're designed so that the town can infill within that dotted line, other than that 8-acre parcel, and there will be sufficient water for everybody. And as you know, we have not had to get our things like, sorry, no, you can't put any lawn or water your garden. Right, we haven't had none of those things that kind of pull back, and that's probably because it was those kinds of thoughts were put into it.
We also, as a community, consume the least amount of water per capita out of any water system.
That's right, and that's one of the reasons why we don't go to meters. It'd be more expensive going to meters and to have less effect than doing what we're doing now, which is saying, listen, we got garden water.
We are updating the consumption study, so I can feed that information out to you as well.
Great.
Just reviewing it for people for doing a bit of a QA/QC on that right now, but I can push that information out to you when it's available, and it will be presented to the Water Services Committee.
And I hope
as
nobody
well.
takes that information that we don't use much water, but nobody uses.
Shower week.
So I'm on the infrastructure asset management planning slide. So an infrastructure asset management plan typically answers 5 questions, or asks 5 questions, and we answer, of course, in the study. So what assets do you have? What assets do you have in the ground, above ground? What's the condition and performance of those assets? What do we need? What do we need to do to those assets? What level of service do we want to provide? Do we want to provide fire flows? Do we not want to provide fire flows? Do we want to provide 24-hour operations maintenance, or do we want something else? Which of course we do. And then, of course, one of the critical questions: how much will it cost, and how will we fund it? So again, linking all those things together to come up with a financial plan and model for the system. And then how will we manage and implement the plan? So that's governance, like what we're doing here, and of course that decision making. If there's no questions there, we can flip to the next slide.
This is, I think, the one you wanted.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
The pie chart, I think, shows everything sort of.
Yeah. So this is a very high level breakdown of the assets you own and how much what the replacement value is. There's always a lag in the asset management reporting. So these are 2023 numbers, but they're the most up to date numbers. They're consistent with the asset management planning approach that we do for all the systems. And like most systems, you see that the pipes in the ground are the vast portion of the total infrastructure that you own. Yeah,
we're lucky that there's a great majority are either the what used to be called blue brute high performance plastic, or the cast iron, and it's ceramic line cast iron. I wish it was put in the.
So we've got that estimated value for all those elements of the system, and we typically look at 2 different planning horizons. We look at a 25-year planning horizon, so we call that kind of the immediate planning horizon, or the short-term planning horizon, and then the 100-year planning horizon. So during that 25-year planning horizon, we'd expect to replace a number of items in the system. Of course, lots of elements of the system have a much longer than 25-year replacement schedule or estimated service life. Yes.
I'm not sure whether I'm going back or forward here, but, the asset inventory and replacement values, what is supply?
Oh, supply, let's see, intake. Like the intake and the dam,
Oh, the
yeah,
dam.
yeah.
I don't see any part of this. Supply.
Supply is
What's
right,
what's the value of our storage?
that's what the natural asset management plan is really doing. Okay, this is infrastructure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the natural, and that's, like I said, yeah. No, and I don't plan to get too much into that because that's an ongoing study right now. It's ongoing. We're informing that study. We're providing a lot of guidance there, but it's ongoing. I don't have numbers for you right now.
We're setting examples for a lot of the rest of the districts who have not done these kinds of things. And thank you for suggesting it and getting putting the bug under me and the district, and now we're doing the study and we haven't contracted it out.
Oh, it's Green Analytics is the
happening
engineering company that's doing it. I'm familiar with them from my work in Hamilton for 12 years, for Hamilton Water, and we did a natural asset management study as well for a couple of the creeks that we have. So I'm familiar with the process. Again, we're not in the lead here, but it is underway. It's a few months into the project, so they are looking for data and information to keep that study going.
Mhm.
So.
Okay, I'm gonna follow in behind what
Yep.
Tom was asking about, and it's the treatment, I assume is water treatment plant.
Yep.
Was $184,150. That's what we paid for the treatment plant.
That
I
is
thought it was
that's the book value that I have for the treatment plant, but then SCADA, that SCADA component, a lot of the SCADA is within the treatment plant, things like that. So
$700,000 for the treatment plant.
We built it 8 years ago.
So I'm wondering what this 184 is. Is this like the cost of the stuff inside the treatment plant?
I think it's
I can put so 100 so the 100-year estimated value. I'll clarify that. I'll pull up the
Sorry, what was the question?
Jason's just asking about the value of the treatment plant.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
hoping-
it's pretty well the assumed here the treatment and the SCADA combined, right? So you have the 240,000 shown. It's slightly low for what it is, but the calculations in the background should inflate that cost by the assumed inflation over the years.
So what I was hoping to get at was the replacement cost. If we had to replace the treatment plant with something else because we had to do more in-depth treatment, what was the cost of the one we had? Because then we have an idea of that cost plus more expensive. Because our treatment is very simple. It's a great system, but it's very simple. We treat for particulate, but the water quality is really high. So we're basically doing minimum amount to satisfy Health Canada or whatever. But if we have something like arsenic and uranium into the system, we're going to need a much more sophisticated treatment plant. So I was hoping to get the baseline value of full replacement, and I thought it was closer to $1 million when we built the one that we have now.
Yeah, and I think the issue here is just how things are broken down.
Yeah.
So I've got the master spreadsheet up here, and I'm just there's things that have been kind of pulled out of treatment.
Yeah.
That could be all included in treatment.
Right.
Now, in the asset management plan, though, you break stuff out because you want to look at it and go, okay, well, that's got a 10-year lifespan.
Yep.
The rest of the treatment infrastructure might have a 30 or 40 or 50-year lifespan.
Totally.
So that's how it is. So you have to kind of delve into the details to get the analysis. I can feed that information out to you just based on a couple of assumptions.
Would be
yeah, can certainly do that, and we're doing that. That natural asset management plan study will dig into that as well. So this is.
That will deal with the acid rock discharge limit if they have to log in there.
A potential. There's a lot of potentials in the future, but the costing to replace the whole thing is an important value to understand for the Water Commission but also for future advocacy with people that have an interest in altering our natural infrastructure.
I got,
Yes.
yeah, thinking back, I got $800,000 from the federal government to put in water treatment.
Mhm.
And in fact, it only got $600 and some odd $1,000. And the other 200,000 we gave to South Slocan with the approval of the federal government, so that they could start work on their system because it was so far behind. And it's still far behind it. You look at the water, what it's costing them to have water. Anyway,
So from your memories, 600 to 700.
I would think,
Yeah, and like I said, I can look at the overall list and go, how would I group these together? What's actually in the treatment plant?
Yeah.
But again, there's method in the madness here.
Yeah.
Where if you bulk up everything, you don't have a proper asset management plan because
I think in short, the answer, Jay, to your question is that the natural asset plan, in my opinion, should do exactly that, right? In order to determine the value that that natural area for you has as a water supply, you would have to do a very high level, but a costing of the alternative to it. And so I would assume, as Chris pointed out, that the study should provide us with some high level answers to your question.
because the reservoir, which was just done a couple of years ago at 780,000, is closer to also the cost of the plant, which is when it was done, but the plant's devalued to 184.
the plant costs, I think, are included in other elements of that pie chart there. It's just how things are broken
And
out.
I understand about the Gator stuff,
Yeah.
but what I mean, that plant contains what, 200 horse pumps, 2 gravel filters, the UV system that we've talked about,
Sand.
and of course, all the electronic software, which is the SCADA system, which is added in. But we still have to get somewhere over, and today's dates, I would say that plant is probably worth at least $1 million.
Like I said, I'll pull things out and I'll give you a bit of a dialed in breakdown of what is included in plant as far as here. And then how we'd want to kind of rejig things to make sense of it in your head versus how it's assessed as far as the asset management plan.
And now, being the devil's advocate, since a certain amount of our income goes towards asset management, that means a certain amount of your taxes go towards asset management. And
So-
if we include this thing up at by 800,000, and we say, okay, now the asset management plan has to cover that, it will mean that we're gonna have to figure out how to get more money some way to pay for it, or to cover it.
Totally understand.
That's where people who are paying for it may not be happy with saying, why don't you just make it 25 years instead of 100? Anyway, then they're done.
So if we turn to the next page, you'll see the vertical asset inventory breakdown. Gives us, this is kind of what I was going to dig into for you as well. So, we've got hydrants here, we've got the SCADA system, we've got the storage, the reservoir, of course, and then the treatment components here. So you can essentially kind of pull out those treatment components, look at the model replacement value, which is that far right column. So 1.63 is kind of what we have, but again, that also includes the reservoir.
Yep.
And the hydrants. The you've only got 16 or 17 hydrants here, so they're not a huge component of the cost here.
A question.
Yes.
The dam says it's going to cost $150,000, and to replace it in 2054 is also going to be $150,000.
Because you've only got to replace it once over its lifespan. The model makes certain assumptions here, and we do financial calculations. That's all kind of taken into account in inflation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of treatment things on there that say next replacement year 2024. Is that work that's already been done, or did?
Hasn't been updated.
Yeah.
And a lot of that we actually do under the operations cost. So
Yes.
that this whole page needs a thorough review. So dosing pumps, for example, we would actually do that under the operations cost. That's not something we would do capital plan. So all of these smaller ones that you see, anything under 10,000, you can pretty well assume it's done through your operations and maintenance cost. So this needs a thorough review. This still at the state of more or less the first time around that we did asset management. Our focus was because of the largest cost. So we have about 85 to 90% of your cost is in your pipe and your reservoir. So this will not impact your long-term cost a whole lot, but it is due for a review.
Yeah, but also keep in mind, these are 2023 numbers and 2023 values in here. Just the way that our accounting runs and the way that the asset management update runs, we're always a little bit far behind, just because that's the information that we have to handle.
And we have numbers in here, like for example, the SCADA that we just replaced, that we have flushed out as a new item, right?
Yeah. So this year, every spring, we look at these asset management plans and then update them. So then this asset management plan this spring will be updated with the projects from previous years.
Yeah. Familiar.
The next page is, like Uli said, the bulk of the value of the system is in pretty much the pipes under the ground again, and that reservoir. Hard to read here, but it's either knowing what's in the ground or an assumption of what's in the ground. Its length, its condition, its depth of bury, if it's got a break history or not. Things like that, again, with an estimated service life. So different pipe materials have different estimated service lives. The plastic pipes, we assume in around 80 years. And a special concrete pipe might be much less. I don't think we've got any of that. You're very lucky to not have any of that.
Good planning. We're talking about the good planning.
Yes, no, well, they gave us the option when the project was putting the system in 70, 80. Said, no. And they said, okay, well, look, we do have cast. And I said, well, I worry about that because, of course, cast rusts. And they said, yeah, but this is a ceramic line. So it should be a longer life than just ordinary cast. And the old pipes that were put in 1898 were steel pipes that were put together with a cast thing and screws in and they click lock. And then you pack them with full of some kind of gunk.
Lead.
Yeah.
Sometimes lead,
Yeah.
sometimes tar. Yeah. And they're
some
still
kind of-
around.
some kind of ropey stuff and they packed it in.
Yeah, it's asbestos soaked with tar.
Yeah.
Is what it, sometimes.
Anyway.
But yeah, so this is the rundown of what we know or assume to be in the ground. There's some risk assessment associated with all this too. We flag the number of connections on each length of pipe. Length of pipe that serves 20 connections will have a higher priority than one that only has a couple of connections on it, maybe for replacing, even if they're of similar age, similar vintage, and have other aspects. So, and then all of this feeds into financial models as well, so that we can understand, how to best plan out how much money we charge you, the level of your reserves, how much to charge you for reserves. And I'll go back to that 25-year and 100-year planning horizons for the system. Yeah, you might have to replace your reservoir, possibly twice in 100 years. You don't want to saddle this current generation with collecting reserve contributions to pay for that. So you want to have that balance of collecting enough now from the people that are currently being served by the system again, but also planning for the future to make sure that you've stable.
Chris,
Yes.
if I can comment for a moment, just to keep that at the right level of discussion. So these asset management planning has to always make a whole bunch of assumptions. The key one for you here is you have largely, as Hans pointed out, PVC pipe. Your piping is 75% of all your assets. We have artificially made the assumption, because that's what typically the industry does, to assume 100-year life for that PVC pipe. But nobody knows, because there is no PVC pipe around with that age, if that assumption is correct. But we have to make these assumptions. So there is a lot of play within these asset management plans, because if one of the assumptions is significantly wrong on a major asset like your pipes, then we could be significantly off with what your financial needs are. So keep that in mind when you look at single line items in your asset management plan. This is always a relatively high level exercise that you're going through.
And I mean, just to add to that too, when we take a look at these asset management plans, again, a lot of the assumptions are industry, engineering best practice or engineering assumptions that are widely agreed upon. But where we have information that informs us to, maybe a better number is better. Sometimes we've got systems that have very high quality water. We look at the infrastructure that, hey, it might gain a couple of years here. So we do make some minor adjustments with things. But again, for the pipes, the bulk of it, that's the best we've got is that assumption that it'll be 100-year lifespan.
We should make a big thing and put it of this.
Yeah.
And put it near the post office, so all the residents can come and say, where am I on that? Because Jesus Christ, every pipe in the ground is on this list.
Every pipe in the ground is on that list, yes.
Interesting.
Yeah. If there's no more questions, yes, Uli.
Chris, I don't know if that one was in or out, and if so, if it has been updated, but we have eliminated that pipe coming down from the school servicing the one house there.
Okay.
Service it from the other side at a relatively or a much lower cost than replacing the actual pipe. So tweaks like that happen all the time in asset management, right? So we now can eliminate, if it was in here, that pipe that came down from the school servicing that house, eliminating a line item and replacing it with a much shorter span of pipe. And that span of pipe we actually serviced. We had to go to around on private property to the other side of the house. But the pipe on private property is in the future. Private pipe, our service piece is only owned up to the curb stop at property line.
Thanks, Uli. I'll take note of that and take a dive into the asset management plan when I'm back in the office and just make sure that we've got the right information.
Too much information.
Yes, of course. Yeah, well, that's why it's unreadable for you too. But if you turn the page, you can see. So these are just graphs, like I've mentioned. We've got 25-year and 100-year planning horizons. Generally, these show you what items in your asset management plan are coming up for renewal within those planning horizons. Now, one thing, I mean, these are simplified assessments of just, what's coming up for renewal based on engineer or estimated service life. In reality, you've got services that are, coming up for renewal. In reality, we're not going to go out and replace everybody's service just because it's 2025 and we think that they are at the end of their life.
Is that what that big red?
That's what that big red thing is. So those are services. So, other items that are, a big bar straight up in the air during 1 year, that's typically displayed because a whole cohort of infrastructure assets are at the end of their estimated life at the same time. In reality, you break that bar down, you spread it out over a number of years. You also assess how things are on the ground. So like Uli said, the asset management plans are intended as high-level guidance documents for us to make decisions. In reality, we rejig things a little bit, but it gives you an assessment of what you need to do, again, over those two planning horizons.
So you've got a 25-year average of 34,000? Like where?
The 34,000 is the what is typically what we'd want to put in reserves if we look at that 25-year planning horizon.
Yes. So right now we're putting like 14,000 into reserves. So we're gonna see that go up a lot coming up.
You'll see that go. I mean, in an ideal world, you'd put in probably that that minimum 34,000 and work your way to somewhere in between the 34 and the 90.
One element that distorts the picture a bit is that your system has received for a lot of the past 10 years capital projects, a lot of grants. That's not something you can
Rely on.
fix, build in and rely on in your asset management planning, but it was a reality, particularly community works funds have supported a lot of the small items in this water system. So this is the reason why we are contributing a lot lower than the asset management plan is saying, but you're correct.
So we have to hope that a lot of those grants come through, otherwise.
I think we need to do both. You need to bring up your contributions over the next years. That's one of the reasons why you see a 4% rate increase over the 5 years instead of an assumed 2% inflation. Yeah, so we are trying to be proactive, being slightly above inflation to slowly bring the rates towards that contribution in the future.
Yes, but it also seems to me that when it comes to the management plan, it was decided that because those are assets, that came out of the frontage part of the tax, and it did not apply to the user rates, right? Now, I understand the frontage tax is at the limit of its borrow, so we may need to have that rewritten, the bylaw rewritten that did that.
That's correct. That's our philosophy, right?
Yeah.
You have parcel tax and frontage taxes that are designed to have a value that kind of.
If I can, Chris, if I can comment on that. Yeah, so normally we try to match the requisitions. So in your case, frontage tax, we match that with the contribution to reserves. This is not the case here, and this is in part as per direction or discussion with the commission, direction from the commission to increase the frontage tax disproportionately. And so you're not contributing at the same level as we are collecting requisitions. This has some advantages for some of your residents in regards to the ability to defer taxes. But this is something we are open to have discussion with your group and open for direction, how you want to structure the overall needs of revenues that you have.
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, it's all right. We can talk about that. Willie, did we write a new bylaw for the frontage tax? I thought we talked about that last year.
Not for Wyman.
Not for Wyman. But I think our frontage tax is at the limit allowed by the bylaw. And
So
That's
has,
why I have an increase, and that's why they're at 0%. There's an increase in 2025 and 2026, and then 0% because it requires an increase.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Or if
it does require an increase, and that's what
you want to move it up.
because just because you increase the bylaw does not mean you have to increase the frontage tax. Because you generally
You would have room.
that's right. And,
so we are limited to that 25% over 5 years.
yeah, and let's rewrite the bylaw first. We need to.
Sorry, but yeah, that's the bylaw. Anything over that 25% over that 5-year period requires public assent. So we would have to go to the electorate and get assent to increase that over and above that amount. That's why you see currently the 000 in the years 27 to 29 for the frontage tax.
But after 5 years, you can go back to the well without needing public assent.
Yeah, and I don't know when we did the last bylaw increase by 25 years. I would have to go back and check that.
Yeah, I can dig that information out.
It's been at least 5 years since we rewrote the frontage tax bylaw. At least, as a matter of fact, I'm not even sure we've ever rewritten it before.
Sorry, there's two elements to it, Hans. There's the frontage tax bylaw and there is the establishment bylaw. Both of these need to be aligned to allow for the increases.
Right, and then that's what we need to do, and what I'm talking about is looking ahead to make sure it gets done. Because I thought that we had in fact looked at changing the bylaw last year, and if we hadn't, now's the time. And then we
Yeah, possibly. When I came on board, we flagged a number of bylaws for update. Some of them were a little more complex than others. So we moved forward with a number of water system bylaw updates, service establishment, and
I like this one because it's by the foot. So if you've got a big property, you pay more frontage. Because your big property can be, you've only got 2 lots. These are little piece.
I've only got 1 lot.
And you only be on the short side. You really get away really.
I don't care. I
The same other one.
don't really care.
People like you, Eileen, and
I've only got 1 lot. Not 2.
I mean, people who have.
Yeah. Anyway.
anyways, if there's no more questions here, we can go into the budget.
Any more questions with regards to asset management? Yeah, I've looked over them. I do have questions, but I'll take care of them later on.
Yeah. Much too complicated for my simple mind.
Yeah, well, there we go. Open discussion and questions.
How
All
we're gonna
right.
make up the
Okay,
contributions
let's
to
move on
reserves.
and let's move into the, let's move into the budget section. Brad, financial.
So. Thank you.
Item number 6 on the agenda.
Yeah, and that's where we go into the budget sheets.
Yeah.
There's a large budget sheet.
The big one.
There, yeah,
You better-
there's double,
Oh, I've got this.
yes.
Where is it? Yeah, not this.
It looks like it's-
I got it for you here.
Okay, yeah.
Here you go.
So it's a 2-pager,
Oh my
that's the top.
God.
Here we go.
Buckle your chin strap. Here we go.
Yeah.
So, if we're ready, we can delve into the budget. It's a draft budget. It's a 5-year plan. We do a 5-year plan every budget cycle, every yearly cycle. And your budget sheet here is broken down into revenue sections, and expense, section. So, we've got the rate section up top, revenue, operating expenses, capital expenses, non-op expenses, kind of administrative expenses, transfers, also related to there, and then summary of your reserves at the bottom, along with your asset management plan. That's read 2023. Asset management plan identified contribution to reserves. So that 25-year and 100-year. Just quick summary there, and then we can go back up to the top. Like Uli alluded to, we've identified 4% increases in rates for each year, 2025 to 2029.
How much is that in dollars? For the average user?
That is,
Yeah, the one who's paying.
well, we're going from $659 in 2024 to, let's go down to single family.
Yeah.
Single family
Got it.
here, 659 to 686.
Yeah.
So,
Good. That's $30.
713, 302.
so yeah, the single family is typically what we look at. For stuff. Again, if you've got other types of property, you're interested in that. And then, as we alluded to that parcel, that's the frontage tax here. We're looking at a 5% increase in 2025, followed by a 3% increase, and then we top out on our allowable contribution through the bylaw. At that point, that's why it's 0 in the 3 years, 2027 to 2029.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
The revenue section is again that summary of what we collect from the users for parcel taxes, the rates, the sales of service. We've got transfer from reserves in this area too. That's $70,000 that we alluded to for the UV replacement in 2026. And then we've also got a prior year surplus in there, so money is not spent. The next section is our operating expenses, where you can see what it costs to operate the system. So salaries for the water operators that are out there operating the system. The assumption here is a 1% increase in salaries for 2025, less than inflation. The Human Resources Department at the regional district every few years, 2 to 3 years, does an industry scan of similar jobs, both in the public and private sector. I think it encompasses thousands of different employers, and then looks at how our pay for various jobs compare. So in this round, they've identified that a 1% increase in salaries, again, less than cost of living, is an appropriate salary bump up for 2025 for those
Workers are slave workers, 1%.
1%. This, well, again, I mean, I think it's an established way that HR looks at this. I know a number of resource departments do similar industry scan. So
24 budget was 16, and actual estimated was 21, and the year end, it says the estimated was 28, which is considerably more than 16. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
You
know, you'll see all the items here that Penny will have to pay for memberships for our operators. That cost is included there. Benefits, the benefits, pension benefits that the RD pays in. Membership, so environmental operators, EOCP, things like that.
Professional.
Professional associations, yeah. Which is a must. Yes, yeah.
So are these salaries and everything that goes into, are they based, or do all the water systems within the RDCK split the costs evenly, or does it?
You'll see that. No, this is operator costs for your system. There are administrative portions of operating the system that get split. So we'll look at them further down in the spreadsheet here. But I've changed. Flipped my page here.
Maybe a certificate operator.
So if you want to flip your page to the next page, where we've got up at the top, we've got insurance. We're still on operations expenses. We've got insurance, again, our licenses and permits, any contracted service costs that we anticipate having to pay for. Operations and maintenance costs come in here. We typically try to split out operations and maintenance costs. Replacing a sensor that's relatively low value, a few $1,000s, is not typically capitalized. We put it in operations and maintenance. So you'll see an item there. Our operating supplies, things like chlorine and chemicals and things like that. Yeah, and then equipment, utilities, and any rentals that we anticipate needing.
And the rest is contribution to reserve.
Yeah. So capital expenses, like we've said, your system's in relatively good shape as far as the infrastructure that you own. That UV replacement is the one capital item that's identified in the 5-year plan. So again, you'll be drawing down reserves to pay for that, but then you'll be building them up again to plan for the future in this 5-year horizon. If we're good, we can move down to the non-operating expenses. That contribution to reserve, again, lower than it needs to be, but you're still contributing to your reserves. It will depend on whether we increase that parcel tax limit as well and rejig things moving forward. This is how we cast it out.
Exactly.
That's how we cast it out right now. Here too, you'll see, Jay asked about that. The transfer to other services are kind of the what Ymir pays into the overall pot to run all the systems from an administrative perspective.
What's the environmental services portion? It's like jumped up quite significantly
Yeah,
for
I'll
this year.
speak to that
Okay.
as soon as we get to it.
Okay.
Yeah, so we've got your contribution to your reserve here, transfer to other services. There's an administrative fee, there's the IT fee, so the general admin fee pays into the Ymir Water Systems component of relying on various regional district administrative things,
Everything from truck, vehicle use, things like printing our water bill.
Yeah.
To taking care of the share of the phone bill to the SCADA cost.
Yeah, we've got admins at the desks that take calls, inquiries, and calls. IT, there's two things broken out here. Specifically, your IT fee here is broken out, and then we've also got a fleet fee in our transfer to other services down at the bottom. Yeah, that environmental services fee did go up this year. I don't know if Willie wants to speak to that.
Yeah, sure I do. So first of all, the when you go to the bottom, transfer to other service, you see the operator admin. So we spoke earlier about salaries. The salaries that you see in the salaries and benefits line items above is the time that the field staff spends in the field. So anytime they are out in the field, working on the treatment plant, making adjustments, whatever, they directly charge their time to the salaries and benefits line item. When they are in the office, then this becomes a mixed calculation, meaning when they are in the office, they have a general administration code, they charge their time too. This is on-call time, this is sick time, this is statutory holiday times. That's any kind of administrative tasks related to water services. So anytime they have that time or meeting time, they have that time and charge that to the operator admin line item. And we distribute that overall services based on the actual salary line items. So we use the salary line items and then prorate that administrative time. But initially it lands in the overhead admin budget, which is called environmental services fee. Don't particularly love the term, but that's where it lands. So it's a service, an allocation service called A103. In 2024 or for 2024, I made a mistake in the budgeting process for this A103. I had double accounted for that operator's admin account. And so we ended up with a significant surplus that then carries forward into 2025. That adjustment is why this environmental services fee peaks in 2025 from $33,000 to $45,000 and then drops in 26 back to $37,000. What is all accounted for in that service A103? So that's all the salaries for the administrative staff. So that would be Chris, that would be my portion of my salary. Any of the administrative support, it would be Alex Bukowski, our operations manager, and all associated costs. This includes training budgets for our operators, It includes a lot of the overhead stuff like office space. It includes various other things throughout the administrative process. So that's what the environmental services budget covers for. It occasionally covers as well contractor or consulting services when we have work done that is benefits all water systems through a consultant. So that's the uptick and the downtick in the environmental services fee that you see that impacts your budget in 2025. Questions about that?
I think you're $5 out on it. Just kidding. All right.
No questions?
No questions.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and as we move down here, the transfer to other services, we don't have any items there. We do a fleet, like I mentioned, we've got a fleet transfer to of course pay for the vehicles that are relied upon by the Ymir system, and then as we talk to that operator again portion, we pull that out. At the bottom, you'll see how your reserves change over the years. Like I said, we've got that 170,000. Yes.
Chris, I just noticed something here that we need to check into. The withdrawal section for 2024 from reserves appears to be a lot higher than the actual transfer from reserves that we show up top. So that's something you and I need to check into.
Okay, yeah, there might have been a calculation. Now I can check into that. I can check into that and provide an update.
Very good. Sure, and just email us the update.
Yep.
And it'll be fine. Yeah. Questions?
Yeah, questions.
Are we going to the hole or are we staying afloat?
You're staying afloat.
With all
Oh, sorry, Chris, the reason maybe we just didn't show it appropriately up top. The reason may be that we had salaries associated with that line replacement from that line that came down from the school, because I see our salaries in that year are a lot higher than normal. So my guess is there's a little bit of a capital project, maybe as well, the metering or whatever, or SCADA.
Okay.
There is some capital involved in the salaries portion, and that we try to recover that from the reserves, but we should still see that coming in up top in the transfer from reserves line. So
Okay, well, when I get back and hop onto the spreadsheet, I'll see what the calculation is, flag anything.
okay, thanks.
Good. Now we have to go ahead, and I believe it's time for us to make a motion or two with regards to where we want to be in the next year. And the suggestion is that we increase by 4%, I believe. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah, but for a 4% increase, I'm going back here someplace. Go to the layers across. Oh, there it is. Yep, the 4% increase, which is less than last year's 6%. But it's
Plus a 5 on the parcel tax side.
Plus 5% on the personal tax side, so 4% increase on rate proposed.
well, yeah, well, we're going to do the rates right now.
Yeah.
The rates be increased by 4%. Then we'll
Yes.
talk about part of that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I will entertain a motion that the rates be increased by, I just suggested 4%. Is there anybody who'd like to make that motion?
I don't want my neighbors coming after me.
They
Yeah,
will be-
I move it. You have to do it, yes.
Moved by Tom.
I'll second it. That's that. Sophia, are you on board?
Yeah, I'm in agreement, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're gonna second it,
I'll second
okay, and the question then, all in favor? And carried, thank you very much, appreciate that, so that'll glue that together. Now we're going to move to the frontage tax part. And the frontage, where's the frontage tax? Can you dig it up for me? I forgot. Oh, down. Oh, yeah, the frontage tax, thank you. I read the line and then I missed that. The frontage tax, suggested is 5% this year. And then 3%, and the 5%, how much is the price? Oh, it depends upon. What's our frontage foot tax? Oh, it's in, thank you, there it is, yeah. Okay, 119 to 5, yes. One is 59.63, yes.
Small parcel, yeah.
Well, it's a 30-foot price, I don't know, it's down to a 30-foot price, but you have to remember that, yeah, for some people, for example, like I mean.
Like me.
Possibly, and there's quite a number of people in town, because the parcel tax goes on with your regular property taxes, it's eligible for the homeowner's grant.
Yeah.
So you may not get the full hit if you have a low value property.
My question would be, can I ask a question?
Of course you can.
Yes.
The frontage tax is on our property tax, so the income depends also on the increase in assessment. My property.
No,
It's on footage.
it's not frontage foot. So you pay so much a foot, you've got 30 feet of frontage, because it's measured.
It doesn't change according to the
No,
assessment.
no.
Also, it's not based on.
No,
It's based on frontage.
Okay, so.
You've got a 30-foot front, you've got 30 feet of
Oh,
front.
okay.
Yeah.
That
And
answers my question, because I was gonna ask, well, the increase in assessments to.
That happens, yes, that happens with a lot of things like your, not the water, the frontage tax. It's so much a front foot, and it was decided to do a frontage tax rather than a parcel tax. And it's because if you've got a frontage tax, a huge frontage where the water line goes by, and unless we have people who have a huge frontage and don't have any property. But the water line has to go past their place, so they're paying for that anyway. It's to be a frontage tax.
I understand.
Okay. We think really was the fairest way.
Yeah.
All right, so anyway, the front foot ranges from generally 119, how many dollars a foot is our frontage tax right now?
I have to pull that up. I can.
Maybe you'll remember. I forget it, or you can.
I can get it from my office, but I don't know offhand what, of the.
Yeah, I can. Why don't I follow up with a copy of the bylaw for you?
Sure, that's right.
Yeah, I just want to be correct with this, so.
Yeah, all right, so, it says the request is about 5%. So for the person who's paying $60, that's, what, $20? For the person who's paying $600, 30.
I would lay a wage in it.
My guess is it's about $2. Is that the one is $59 in the text? Does that mean, Chris, that's per single surveyed property, and most properties are 2 to maximum 8 of these parcels?
That's my understanding. I mean, the smallest parcel.
So the small side of the
is
parcel.
a sliver.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, so if the single parcel side, short side is 30 feet, then that would be about $2 per foot if one of these small parcels is 59.63. I'm guessing.
Yes, yeah, I can, like I said, I can look at the quote, but yeah, that's probably ballpark.
Yeah.
So 5% increase, we're talking about 5%.
that's what it.
Guys ready?
Suggested, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're still basically what 5% is for your.
And this doesn't need the bylaw change, Tim, all that, that's another
For
issue.
the limit,
There's no.
so there's a
Yeah,
limit.
So we haven't reached the limit.
No, we haven't.
We reached the limit in,
So do we need a motion for the 5%?
reached the limit in 2026.
I might as well be the bad guy.
Okay, no,
I move
move by
that
John.
we-
Okay, second,
Yeah, I'll second Sophia, you have.
Yeah, no, I'll second that.
Okay.
thank you, appreciate it. All right, and the question, all in favor?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, and that's also carried. And it should be noted, I think I could, how about a motion that, that we also request an updating of the bylaw to increase it by whatever, if you can increase it by 25% without going to voter assent. And if we're getting near the limit, this is the time, because it takes time to write the bylaw.
It does, the limits reached in 2020.
So moved.
So we need to do it now.
So moved.
2026. Okay, moved by Tom and seconded by
To give us more flexibility, if that's
to
their reasoning.
rewrite the bylaw to incorporate an increase of up to 25%.
It gives you room to bring it up, it doesn't necessarily mean that it is.
Based on what we know of what we have in reserve, what we are recommended and how we're lower, then yeah, we need a way to be able to get more money.
If
It's
we
not
had
coming
to,
in grant.
in case something happened, we would have a way right away. Bylaw. And all the bylaws, like we just did the library one last year, Recreation Commission one is being done, I think this year. These bylaws, when they reach the limit, and it's the kind of thing where, generally we rewrite them and and the maximum allowed by the province is a 25% increase to the bylaw. So we ask for the 25%, but because if it's more than that, you have to go to the people.
God help us if we have to go to the people.
Well, put it this way, one last, the fire department, we have to get people for a new fire truck, because we're only allowed to work for 5 years, and I know the price of fire. So,
You mentioned taxes and people need,
yeah, well,
but I want the service.
and that's the thing.
It's a critical part.
Well, yeah. So anyway, okay, have we voted on that? All in favor? Carried, and is that the, another is a motion to, that the bylaw be rewritten to include. That's pretty good. The last part, because I think, yeah, we did the financial plan. Public time, are there any members of the public here? Anybody listening?
Hans,
Yes,
for the purpose of the minutes, can we restate the motion that you just made?
sure, that the frontage tax bylaws, okay, be rewritten to increase them by 25%. That's what the province will allow without going to the people. All our bylaws go up by 25%. And we rewrite them. And if we apply now, then we can use it next year if we need to, or whatever. Because we are at the limit now, and so.
Sorry, Hans, can we make that subject to reviewing it as staff? Because I believe the bylaw needs to take effect when it is approved. And we are not in a position to do the 25 yet because we are not through the 5-year period yet.
Yeah.
So.
You mean the last time we rewrote the frontage tax bylaw was less than 5 years ago?
Yeah, otherwise we couldn't do the 5% this year and 3% next year. So, and again, I don't have it in front of me, but I assume that the 5-year period ends in 2026, and that is probably the earliest we can redo that bylaw.
Only it could have been a 20-year period that ends in 2026. When you reach the peak of it, that's when you have to change it. Because I know for many years we did not change the frontage tax. And as far as I know, we haven't ever rewritten it. So you just can't rewrite more than once every 5 years. And just because we run to the end of the money, this is the time to rewrite it. If it's been 20 years, 10 years, 5 years, you just can't do it if it's 4.
Okay.
All right. Anyway, yeah. So that's been passed. Is there anything else? Public time?
Looks like we do.
Pardon? No, okay, that's saying no public and no questions. Yeah.
Hold on.
There is a member of the public on, I believe,
Oh,
Doug. Doug, if you have a question, now is your chance to ask that. Unmute yourself and ask the question, please.
Doug, come on, please. Ask a question. We really like it when people do. Other than that, it was a pleasure having you online with us and hearing our presentation and how we deal with our financials. Thank you. There being no questions from the public, next meeting will be at the call of the chair. And therefore, could someone move adjournment?
Did
Oh,
you
sorry,
want to
yeah.
talk about the well? This well? Would you like to do that?
Oh, yeah.
Sure, like I said, I can certainly speak to the well. I don't think it was common knowledge that that we had drilled a well back in 2003. I believe it was just part of an assessment.
It was common knowledge.
It was common knowledge in 2003. I stumbled upon it just working with the asset management or the natural asset management consulting team.
Yeah.
We kind of going down a lot of rabbit holes doing this, right? Because we're looking for some storage information. Found this, provided Jason some information that I will disseminate to the wider group here. Just on that well, there's a well report. I don't know if that's in front of me.
Where was this well drilled?
The well is apparently at the corner of Tamarack and
Across from Eileen.
Across from Eileen Public House. It's not quite at the corner of Tamarack,
Yeah.
but it is adjacent to Fur Street, Main Street, on the riverside. Quite close to Main Street.
it says completed at the intersection of Tamarack and First Avenue. So
It's actually not where it
it's
is.
actually not where it is. So we will go out and take photographs of it and I'll drop it in.
Yeah.
So we actually know where that is.
Yeah.
A summary of the well report. Like I said, I can provide this to everybody. I believe that the well was completed to a depth of 34.7 meters, at which point it hit bedrock. The assumption here is that it is in the Salmo River overburden aquifer, so a non-confined aquifer. The quality that I see in the well report seemed okay. Again, I don't think there's full investigation into this well. It was never developed.
We tested it and found out that it was not of the quality that we get from Fort Street. It was high in iron.
Yes.
So we would have to do something about taking the iron out of the water, rusty line.
Okay, so
There was a caveat in the report, though, a director, that because they took the sample right after drilling, they didn't put this well, they didn't allow them to develop it all. That possibly chemistry could change a little bit, maybe more favorably or less favorably.
right. So my concerns when I looked over the report were that not only is it much lower standard than our current active water source, it has a number of things that were at the maximum allowed concentration. And all the numbers are pegged to the absolute maximum allowed concentration. And I don't know whether that's a factor of how they test or how they log things, but it seems interesting to me that they're all pegged at max. And the ones of most concern are arsenic, lead, mercury, selenium, uranium, all at maximum allowed concentration. Plus, the standards have changed since this was done in 2003. So there are some that exceed maximum allowed concentration just in the sample.
That's right, exactly. And those are the things we looked at way back in 03, saying this is not suitable. Remember when I said, no, we can't use the Salmo River? This is why.
And I take your point, Chris, that that not a proper flushing wasn't done and a pumping to get a different record, and maybe that needs to be done in the future just to determine.
I will clarify here, though, that so the first column here on that page that we're looking at, we'll have to, of course, disseminate it to
It's
everybody.
just showing
the
max-
guidelines. This is the Canadian guideline.
Right.
The guideline identifies it as an aesthetic objective.
Okay, so I'm reading it.
You're reading it a little bit incorrectly, and then the maximum acceptable. So this is how this is the numbers associated with the guideline, the parameters. whether it's aesthetic or maximum acceptable,
Yeah,
whether there's a health concern, and then what was actually tested in the well.
right.
So you'll see that that level of these parameters, common parameters,
Yep.
all have the values here. Let's see.
So
I
does-
don't know if we've got any exceedances here.
So Chris, can I ask you a question?
Before we get too much into the discussion about the water quality, we should make the clear disclaimer that the report, as I recall, was very brief. It didn't outline the procedures taken. It didn't outline if the well was pumped over a significant period of time to allow for a flushing through of potentially stagnant water. So I think there's a lot of if, buts, and whens there. So I would be cautious to use whatever testing they did without knowing the parameters around taking the sample at the time when it was taken. So take it with a grain of salt, I would suggest.
Yeah, there is a mention in the report that not to rely too much on the quality analysis here. The raw water sample, which is what was sampled, was not filtered in the field as normal. You normally do a hand filter in the field, and then the exceedances in particulate matter are likely not representative of true water quality conditions. So it's a very high level kind of scratch the surface report.
May I just ask a quick question? If we have values in the third column here under Ymir test zone, if there is no value, does that mean it wasn't tested?
I assume that was not tested. Yeah.
Okay. So there's a lot of most
Things
of
that
the
were not-
analysis. No.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Thank you for straightening that out.
Yes.
We do the work.
We do.
But our numbers have been consistent for as long as I've been around.
Yeah,
They have
consistently
become
great.
more refined, in other words, more zeros, and then further points to the decimal, but the water qualities have always been really, really great. But we do know what's in that rock underneath, and that's what we gotta worry about.
And I don't know, I mean, you can go online and see the well records from other wells within this aquifer close to here, in aquifer, and see what the quality is there that's available on the provincial website. So,
Can you send me a link to get into that?
yes, I
database?
can.
That would be amazing. Thank you. Okay, that's all I got.
Well done. Motion to adjourn? Or have we? Motion to adjourn?
Seconded.
Seconded. Move. I'll move this with great
Whatever.
pleasure.
I got a question, but we can do it.
Okay, we stand adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for attending, and thank you for your information, and the meeting is adjourned. Thanks, Chris. Uli.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, we'll see ya.
Thank you. Glad I showed up in my words. I mean, I like to meet everybody. I like to meet everybody in person. Yeah.
One of these days I'll get, in the spring, later on in the early summer, I'll get you to take me